Welcome back to Starbound Valor HFY. The rise of humanity continues. The hall of the Galactic Council was silent, not because it was empty, but because every voice inside it had already decided the fate of one small blue planet. Thousands of beings from different stars sat in floating seats, their eyes fixed on the image of Earth turning slowly in the air. To them, it was just another world. To humanity, it was everything. The decision had been discussed for many cycles, and now the final words were about to be spoken. The supreme arbiter of the galaxy rose from his seat. His voice was calm, cold, and without emotion. He spoke of balance, order, and survival. He spoke of how humanity had grown too fast, spread too far, and refused to follow galactic guidance. He said humans were unpredictable, dangerous, and too independent. Then he said the words that would echo across Earth forever. The Council had voted. Earth was no longer recognized as humanity's home. Humans would be removed. Exile would begin within one standard cycle. Across the stars, the message reached Earth in every language at the same moment. Cities stopped. Air traffic froze. People stood still in streets, homes, and offices, staring at screens that repeated the same sentence again and again. Humanity must leave Earth. There were no threats in the message, no anger. It was spoken as if it were a simple rule, like gravity or time. To the Council, it was final. In the Council Hall, many alien leaders watched the human representatives closely. They expected shouting. They expected fear. They expected begging. But the humans did none of that. The small group of human delegates stood quietly. Their faces showed no panic, no anger, only focus. This reaction confused the Council more than any protest ever could. The human speaker stepped forward. He did not raise his voice. He did not argue history or emotion. He asked for one thing only: time. One chance to speak on behalf of Earth. The Council allowed it, not out of respect, but out of confidence. In their minds, humanity had already lost. A few words would change nothing. On Earth, leaders gathered in emergency rooms deep under mountains and cities. Scientists, soldiers, and engineers stood side by side. There was no chaos. No screaming. Humanity had faced disasters before. Wars. Plagues. Near extinction. This was different, but the response was the same. Calm first. Action second. The human delegate looked around the vast hall. He saw beings who had lived for thousands of years, civilizations older than human history itself. They believed they understood the universe. They believed humanity was young and foolish. He spoke slowly, choosing simple words that could not be misunderstood. He said humans did not deny the Council's power. He said humans did not seek war. But he also said humans would not accept exile from their own home. A low sound moved through the Council. Some laughed softly. Others whispered. The idea seemed impossible. Humanity had no right, no authority, no chance. The arbiter warned the human delegate carefully. Refusal would mean force. Fleets would come. Earth would be taken. The human did not argue. He only nodded. Then he said something that caused the room to fall silent again. Humanity, he said, had rules. They believed in choice. They believed in standing their ground. And if the galaxy wished to remove them, it would have to understand those rules first. The Council ended the session soon after. To them, the matter was settled. Fleets were already moving. Orders were already written. Humanity would learn its place. But as the Council members left, many felt an unease they could not explain. The humans had not acted like a species about to lose its world. On Earth, something ancient awakened. Not a weapon, not a machine, but a shared memory. Humanity had always been told it was weak. Always been pushed. Always been tested. And every time, it adapted. Deep under the oceans, in forgotten deserts, and beneath old cities, systems long silent began to warm. They were not built for conquest. They were built for survival. Children slept while satellites changed their paths. Farmers worked while data moved faster than light. Soldiers waited while scientists smiled quietly. Humanity did not announce its plans. It did not threaten the galaxy. It simply prepared. Every human, in some way, felt it. A quiet understanding passed through the species. Earth was home. And no one leaves home without a choice. Far above, alien scouts watched Earth closely. They saw no weapons firing, no shields rising, no panic. They reported confusion. The planet looked peaceful, normal, almost calm. This only increased the Council's confidence. Humanity, they believed, was in denial. But denial was not what the humans felt. They felt clarity. For the first time, the galaxy had drawn a line. And for the first time, humanity knew exactly where it stood. The judgment of Earth had been passed. The galaxy believed the story was over. Humanity knew it had just begun. The Galactic Council believed time was on its side. After the judgment, the Great Hall returned to routine matters, trade routes, border disputes, and small wars between minor systems. Earth was no longer a concern. In the Council's long history, many worlds had been relocated, reshaped, or erased. Humanity was just another name added to the record. The Council archives already listed Earth as a planet under transition, its future decided by law and power. To them, the matter was finished. Across the stars, alien observers continued to watch Earth, expecting chaos to rise at any moment. They expected riots, mass movements, and fear-driven mistakes. Instead, they saw none of it. Cities stayed active. Lights stayed on. Communication networks worked as usual. There were no mass launches into space, no desperate attempts to flee. The planet moved through space as it always had, quiet and blue. This calm was reported again and again, but the Council dismissed it as shock. Humans, they said, were simply frozen by fear. What the galaxy failed to understand was that humanity had learned long ago how to stay calm when everything was at risk. On Earth, history was filled with moments where survival depended on control, not panic. The decision of exile did not break humanity's spirit. It sharpened it. Governments stopped competing. Old conflicts were paused. Borders meant nothing now. Earth itself had become the only border that mattered. In deep research centers hidden from the sky, scientists reviewed data that had been locked away for generations. Projects once considered too costly or unnecessary were reopened. Power systems were tested. Networks were linked. None of it was dramatic. No alarms. No speeches. Humanity worked in silence, not because it was afraid, but because it understood the value of surprise. The galaxy believed humans were dangerous because they were emotional. This belief came from old reports, war records, and early encounters. Humans fought hard, fast, and with passion. But the Council never studied what happened after those wars. They never noticed that humans learned. They adapted. They improved. Emotion did not make them weak. It made them careful. On one distant Council world, an analyst reviewed Earth's history in more detail. He noticed a pattern others had missed. Humans never fought at full strength at the start. They tested. They observed. They waited. This detail was sent to the Council, but it was lost among thousands of reports. The Council trusted numbers, fleets, and age. Humanity had none of those advantages. Or so they believed. Near Earth, alien scout ships adjusted their positions. They scanned deeper, looking for hidden weapons or energy spikes. They found nothing that matched known threat levels. Human technology appeared simple compared to galactic standards. No planet-wide shields. No massive battle stations. No signs of preparation for war. The scouts reported that Earth was exposed. Easy. The Council felt reassured. What the scouts could not see was intent. They could not measure discipline. They could not scan choice. Humanity was not building weapons to match the galaxy. It was preparing systems to control outcomes. This was the galaxy's first mistake. It assumed strength was always loud. Humanity had learned that true strength often moved quietly. On Earth, a signal passed through secure channels. It was short and simple. Preparation phase complete. No names were signed. No leaders claimed credit. It was not an order. It was an understanding. Humanity had reached the same conclusion without debate. Earth would not be surrendered. The Council issued a public statement soon after. It declared that relocation fleets would arrive soon to begin the process. The message was firm but polite. It promised safety for compliant humans. It promised order. It promised mercy. The galaxy expected this message to break Earth's calm. It did not. Instead, human media broadcast a different kind of message. There were no threats, no fear, just reminders. Images of Earth's oceans, its forests, its cities at night. Stories of survival, of rebuilding, of standing together. Humanity was not preparing to fight for territory. It was preparing to defend meaning. Some alien species watching from the edges of Council space felt uneasy. They had seen this before, long ago, in smaller conflicts. A species that stopped speaking loudly was often the most dangerous. Still, their warnings were ignored. The Council had decided. Age and power, it believed, could not be challenged by a young race. As days passed, the galaxy's confidence grew. Earth remained quiet. No protests. No declarations of war. To the Council, this silence confirmed weakness. Humanity, they thought, was accepting its fate. They believed exile would happen without resistance. This belief was the galaxy's second mistake. Humanity was not accepting anything. It was measuring time. It was watching how the galaxy moved. Every ship path. Every communication delay. Every decision. The Council saw a planet waiting to fall. Humanity saw an opponent revealing itself. Far above Earth, a human satellite shifted its orbit slightly. It was a small change, meaningless to alien sensors. But to those who understood the system, it was a signal. Phase 2 had begun. The galaxy still believed Earth was no longer humanity's home. Humanity believed the galaxy had underestimated what it meant to belong. Earth did not change on the surface, and that was exactly the point. From orbit, the planet looked the same as it always had. Clouds moved. Oceans reflected light. Cities glowed at night. To the galaxy, nothing important was happening. But beneath the calm, humanity was moving with purpose. This preparation was not loud, not proud, and not announced. It was silent, shared, and precise. Across the planet, old facilities that had not been used in decades were quietly reopened. Some were buried deep under mountains, others hidden beneath the sea. These places were built during times when humanity believed it might stand alone one day. They were not weapons of fear. They were systems of endurance. Engineers checked power lines. Scientists reviewed forgotten designs. Everything was verified twice. No mistakes were allowed. Human networks changed first. Communication systems were simplified and secured. Signals were shortened. Redundant paths were activated. Humanity did not want faster messages. It wanted unbreakable ones. If the galaxy tried to cut Earth off, humanity would still speak as one. This was not a military move. It was a survival instinct, refined by centuries of crisis. In laboratories, researchers worked without excitement or stress. They had waited for this moment, even if they never expected it to come this way. Many projects had been stopped in the past because they were unnecessary or too expensive. Now cost did not matter. Only function did. Power systems became more efficient. Control systems became smarter. Nothing flashy was added. Humanity focused on reliability, not display. The galaxy believed humans were always divided. Different nations. Different beliefs. Different goals. That belief was now outdated. The exile decision had erased those lines. Humanity did not need orders to unite. It understood the threat clearly. Earth was home. Losing it was not an option. That simple truth guided every action. Military forces did not mobilize openly. There were no parades. No large movements. Units remained where they were. Training schedules continued as usual. To alien eyes, nothing had changed. But command structures had shifted. Authority became flexible. Decisions could be made faster. Humanity prepared not for attack, but for response. One of the most important changes happened quietly in space. Satellites adjusted positions by tiny amounts. Old platforms were reconnected. New patterns formed, invisible unless viewed as a whole. These systems were not weapons. They were eyes and hands, designed to control space around Earth without drawing attention. The galaxy measured power in size. Humanity measured it in control. Deep below the oceans, systems powered on for the first time in generations. They did not glow or pulse. They simply existed, ready. Humanity had learned from nature. The strongest forces were often unseen. Pressure, gravity, time. These systems followed the same logic. The human population was not told details. They did not need them. What they felt was enough. A shared calm. A quiet focus. People continued their lives, but with a new awareness. Children learned. Workers worked. Families stayed together. Humanity had decided that fear would not be its response. Alien scouts continued to report nothing unusual. No energy spikes. No weapons testing. No shield activation. Earth appeared passive. These reports pleased the Council. They confirmed what the galaxy wanted to believe. Humanity was unprepared. Humanity was waiting to be moved. What the scouts missed was coordination. Every system on Earth now spoke the same language. Data flowed cleanly. Decisions were layered. If one part failed, another would take its place. Humanity was not building a single defense. It was building resilience. In a secure location, a small group of human leaders reviewed final readiness reports. There were no celebrations. No speeches. Only confirmation. Humanity was ready to respond to whatever came next. Not with anger. Not with pride. But with clarity. A single internal message passed through the system. It contained no threats and no promises. It said only this: observe. Wait. Act when necessary. That message reached every level of preparation. Humanity was no longer reacting to the galaxy. It was watching it. Far away, the Galactic Council finalized fleet movements. Timetables were set. Confidence was high. The Council believed it was about to demonstrate authority. It did not realize it was about to test something far older than galactic law. As Earth turned quietly beneath the stars, humanity completed its silent preparation. No banners were raised. No warnings were sent. The galaxy believed nothing was happening. Humanity knew that everything was ready. The Galactic Council expected silence from Earth, not a response. When the signal arrived, it did not come with warning or emotion. It was clean, direct, and impossible to ignore. The transmission entered every major communication network in Council space at the same moment. It did not interrupt systems or cause damage. It simply appeared, waiting to be received. The Council chambers paused as the message displayed itself in clear universal code. Many believed it was a mistake. Others thought it was a last plea. The idea that humanity would speak now, after days of silence, felt wrong to them. The Supreme Arbiter ordered the message opened. There was no dramatic sound, no visual display. Only text and voice, calm and controlled. The message did not begin with anger. It did not accuse the galaxy of injustice. It did not mention exile or punishment. It began with a simple statement. Earth is humanity's home. That was all. No decoration. No explanation. Just a fact, spoken as something that could not be changed. The Council reacted with confusion. Some delegates laughed quietly. Others waited for the rest, expecting fear to follow. But the message continued at the same steady pace. Humanity acknowledged the Council's authority over shared space. It recognized the need for balance. It respected the galaxy's history. Then the tone shifted, not in volume, but in meaning. Humanity would not leave Earth. Not now. Not ever. The hall grew quiet. The message did not threaten war. It did not promise destruction. Instead, it explained rules. Humanity's rules. Earth would remain peaceful unless attacked. Human systems would not interfere with neutral worlds. No innocent life would be harmed by human action. But if any force attempted to remove humanity from Earth, that force would be stopped. Stopped did not mean destroyed. The message was clear. Humanity did not seek to conquer. It sought to remain. The difference mattered. The Council had never received such a response before. Species usually begged, or they fought blindly. Humanity had chosen something else. It had chosen conditions. As the message ended, a data package followed. It contained no schematics and no secrets. It showed records, evidence of capability without display, controlled energy fields, precision systems, simulations of defensive outcomes, not theoretical models, but tested results. The data did not show maximum power. It showed limits, and those limits were enough. The Supreme Arbiter studied the information in silence. This was not expected. Humanity had never revealed such coordination before. The Council began to argue. Some called it a bluff. Others urged caution. A few older species recognized the pattern. A species that revealed only what was necessary was not weak. It was disciplined. On worlds across the galaxy, news spread fast. Humanity had refused exile. Not with rage, but with reason. Not with threats, but with structure. Reactions varied. Some species felt fear. Others felt respect. Many felt something unfamiliar. Uncertainty. The Council reconvened in emergency session. The Arbiter reminded them that authority could not be challenged. If humanity was allowed to refuse, others would follow. Order would break. A decision had to be made. Force, many argued, would restore control quickly. Earth was still unshielded. Human fleets were still small. The advantage remained with the Council. While the debate continued, alien fleets continued their approach. No changes were made to their paths. The Council believed humanity was testing boundaries. It believed a show of strength would end the matter. The message from Earth was seen as defiance, not warning. On Earth, humanity did not celebrate the transmission. It was never meant to inspire pride. It was meant to set expectations. Systems remained in waiting mode. No weapons were activated. No barriers were raised. Humanity had spoken. Now it watched. Alien scouts near Earth reported an increase in coordination. They could not explain it. Systems seemed more organized, not stronger. This detail was noted, then dismissed. The galaxy still measured danger in firepower. Humanity measured it in control. Back in the Council Hall, a final vote was taken. The decision was clear. The fleet would proceed. Earth would be secured. Humanity would be relocated. The message from Earth would be remembered as resistance that failed. As the session ended, one council member remained silent. An ancient species, older than most, studied the human message again. It recognized something the others did not. Humanity had not asked for permission. It had not demanded victory. It had simply stated a boundary. Far away, Earth rotated calmly beneath the stars. The message had been sent. The line had been drawn. The galaxy believed it had been challenged. Humanity believed it had been understood. Both were about to learn which belief mattered. The galactic fleets moved with perfect order. Massive ships slipped out of hyperspace in clean formation, their paths calculated long before the council vote was complete. To the galaxy, this was not an invasion but an enforcement. The fleets were not built to destroy Earth, only to control it. Their commanders believed resistance would be brief and limited. Humanity, they assumed, would retreat once faced with true power. From Earth, the arrival of the fleets was visible as brief flashes in the sky. Satellites detected the shifts instantly. Data flowed through human networks without noise or delay. There were no alarms broadcast to the public. Humanity did not want fear. It wanted focus. The fleets had arrived. Phase 3 had begun. Alien commanders opened standard communication channels. They issued formal instructions for compliance. Human ships were ordered to stand down. Orbital paths were declared restricted. Earth was informed that enforcement operations would begin soon. The tone was calm, official, and confident. The galaxy expected obedience. Humanity responded, but not in the way the galaxy expected. A short acknowledgement was sent. No arguments. No threats. Only confirmation that the message was received. Then silence. This silence unsettled some commanders. Others dismissed it as hesitation. The fleets continued their approach. The first move was meant to be symbolic. A small enforcement group moved toward a human orbital platform. The goal was simple. Take control without damage. Show authority. End resistance before it began. The platform was not a weapon. It was a communication relay. To the galaxy, it was an easy target. As the alien ships closed in, something changed. No weapons fired. No shields rose. The human platform did not move. Then, without warning, the alien ships lost control. Their systems did not fail violently. They simply stopped responding. Navigation froze. Power dropped to safe levels. Weapons locked themselves. The ships drifted, intact but helpless. Confusion spread through the fleet. Commanders demanded reports. Engineers checked systems again and again. There was no damage. No interference signal. The ships were not under attack. They were under control. A human transmission followed. Calm, clear, respectful. Humanity informed the fleet that the ships had entered a restricted zone. According to human rules, no hostile action would be taken. The ships would be released once they withdrew. There would be no further consequences. The galaxy had never experienced this. Control without destruction. Power without violence. Some commanders argued to open fire. They could not. Their weapons remained locked. Others suggested retreat. Before orders could be finalized, the ships were released. Systems returned. Control was restored. The enforcement group withdrew, shaken but unharmed. News of the incident reached the Council within moments. Reactions were immediate and divided. Some called it a trick. Others called it a warning. A few recognized it as something far more serious. Humanity had just demonstrated restraint. And restraint, when combined with capability, was dangerous. The Council demanded answers. How had the ships been disabled? No energy spike was recorded. No known technology matched the effect. Humanity had not violated any galactic law. It had not attacked. It had defended space it claimed as its own. On Earth, there was no celebration. The incident was treated as data. Systems were reviewed. Limits were tested. Humanity had not shown everything. It had shown enough. The goal was never to impress the galaxy. It was to make one thing clear. Force would not work the way the Council expected. Alien fleets adjusted their distance. New formations were considered. Commanders requested authorization for stronger action. The Council hesitated. The first move had not gone as planned. The galaxy had expected fear. It had encountered control. Across Council space, smaller species watched carefully. Some felt hope. Others felt fear. Humanity had challenged the galaxy without breaking its own rules. This was new. It changed calculations. It changed expectations. The Supreme Arbiter called for calm. One incident did not change authority. The fleets were still stronger. Earth was still surrounded. Humanity could not win a prolonged confrontation. Or so the Council believed. Orders were given to continue operations, but with caution. Above Earth, the fleets held position. No weapons fired. No retreat declared. A tense stillness settled in space. Humanity waited. The galaxy waited. Both sides measured the other. The first galactic move had been made. It had not ended the conflict. It had revealed its nature. The galaxy had shown its power. Humanity had shown its control. And in that moment, the Council began to realize that Earth was not as defenseless as it appeared. The silence after the first encounter spread across space like a held breath. The galactic fleets remained at a careful distance from Earth, their commanders no longer confident, their movements slower and more deliberate. The galaxy had expected fear and chaos. Instead, it had met order and restraint. This response forced the Council to pause, and in that pause, humanity spoke again. The new human transmission was not directed at the fleets alone. It was sent to the entire galaxy. Every major network received it without interference. The message did not repeat past arguments or victories. It did not celebrate what had happened. It simply explained the rules humanity would follow from this point forward. The voice was the same calm tone used before. Humanity declared that Earth would remain neutral unless directly threatened. No human system would strike first. No human force would enter foreign space without permission. Civilian targets were forbidden. These rules were not requests. They were statements of intent. Humanity was not asking the galaxy to agree. It was explaining how it would act. The message continued with clarity. Any fleet that approached Earth peacefully would be observed but not harmed. Any attempt to seize control of human infrastructure would be stopped without destruction if possible. Human technology would prioritize disabling systems, not ending lives. This approach, humanity said, was not weakness. It was choice. In the council chambers, reaction was immediate. Some leaders were offended. Rules, they argued, could only be made by those in power. Humanity was still under judgment. It had no authority to set conditions. Others, however, felt uneasy. The humans were acting like a sovereign force, not a condemned one. The supreme arbiter responded with a warning. Galactic law, he said, could not be replaced by human values. If humanity continued to resist, enforcement would escalate. The message was meant to reassert control. But even as it was spoken, its effect was weaker than before. The galaxy had seen what humanity could do without violence. Within the fleets, commanders debated quietly. They had experienced the human response firsthand. Their ships had been disabled, not harmed. Crews had not been injured. This was not how enemies usually acted. Many officers began to question the mission. If humanity truly wished to fight, why show restraint? On Earth, human leaders reviewed possible outcomes. They knew the galaxy might ignore their rules. They had planned for that. Humanity's systems were built to respond, not escalate. Every action had limits. Every response had purpose. Earth would not become the monster the galaxy feared. Some alien species on the edge of council space sent private messages to Earth. They asked questions. They sought understanding. Humanity responded carefully, without promises or alliances. It made one thing clear. These rules were not temporary. They reflected how humanity intended to exist among the stars. The council debated for long hours. Hardliners demanded immediate action. They argued that allowing humanity to define rules would weaken galactic authority. Moderates urged caution. They warned that forcing the issue could lead to consequences no one fully understood. The debate exposed a deeper fear. Humanity was not behaving like a lesser species. It was behaving like a peer. As discussions continued, a small alien task force attempted a quiet test. Without informing the Council, they moved closer to Earth, attempting to probe a human defense zone. The move was subtle, meant to gather data. Humanity detected it instantly. The response was immediate but controlled. The task force lost propulsion for exactly 30 seconds. No systems were damaged. No communication was blocked. After 30 seconds, full control returned. A message followed. The rules had been violated. This was a warning. There would be no second warning for the same action. The incident spread quickly through the fleets. Fear did not come from the loss of control. It came from the precision. Humanity had not reacted emotionally. It had reacted exactly as promised. The rules were real. Back on Earth, no one cheered. The event was logged and studied. Humanity was testing itself as much as the galaxy. Could it hold to its rules under pressure? Could it respond without crossing its own lines? So far it had. The Supreme Arbiter addressed the Council again. He acknowledged the incidents but refused to change the decision. Earth would still be secured. Humanity's rules, he said, would not stop galactic law. But his confidence was no longer shared by all. Across the galaxy, perception began to shift. Humanity was no longer seen only as a problem. It was seen as a force with discipline and restraint. This made it unpredictable in a way raw power never could. The rules of humanity had been spoken. Whether the galaxy accepted them or not no longer mattered. Humanity had defined itself. The next move would show whether the galaxy could respect boundaries, or whether it would force humanity to show what lay beyond restraint. The galaxy tested the rules sooner than humanity expected. Not because it sought total war, but because fear often hides behind aggression. A faction within the Galactic Command believed humanity's restraint was an act. They argued that no species would limit itself when survival was at stake. To them, the human rules were a performance, meant to delay the inevitable. They decided to break those rules and see what happened. The attack was small and precise. A strike group moved toward a human coastal city under the cover of routine fleet movement. The goal was not destruction. It was pressure. A limited show of force meant to scare humanity into submission. The weapons used were designed to disable infrastructure, not to kill. To the attackers, this still counted as restraint. To humanity, it was a violation. Human systems detected the shift instantly. The incoming energy signatures were clear. This was not a mistake. It was a choice. On Earth, response protocols activated without debate. The rules allowed defense. The rules allowed escalation when lines were crossed. Humanity had reached that line. There were no alarms in the city. No explosions in the sky. The attack never landed. Instead, space itself seemed to pause. The strike group lost cohesion. Ships drifted apart as if held by invisible hands. Their weapons shut down. Their shields collapsed into safe mode. Communication between them failed, not blocked, but redirected. Each ship could only hear a single message. Stand down. The message was not shouted. It was not repeated. It was spoken once. Final. The strike group attempted to respond with force. They could not. Every system they tried to use worked against them. Power surged and cut itself. Navigation reset again and again. It was as if the ships no longer belonged to their crews. The galaxy watched in shock. This was different from before. Humanity was no longer just controlling approach zones. It was controlling battle groups. And it was doing so without visible effort. No massive energy release. No weapons fire. Just results. Within seconds, the strike group was neutralized. Ships were held in stable orbits far from Earth. Crews were unharmed. No lives were lost. Then humanity spoke again. The message was directed to the Council and all fleets. The rules had been broken. Humanity had responded. This was the consequence. The Council erupted into chaos. Accusations flew. Commands overlapped. Some demanded immediate full-scale assault. Others called for retreat. The Supreme Arbiter struggled to restore order. Humanity's response had shattered assumptions. Restraint had not been weakness. It had been patience. On Earth, leaders reviewed the action with care. Humanity had escalated, but only within defined limits. No civilian harm. No destruction beyond necessity. Systems had been used at higher capacity, but not maximum. Humanity was still holding back. But the galaxy had now seen a glimpse of what lay beyond the rules. Across the fleets, morale shifted. Commanders no longer spoke with confidence. They spoke with caution. Every order was questioned. Every move was measured. Humanity had demonstrated dominance without cruelty. That combination unsettled even the oldest species. Some council members demanded to know how humanity had achieved this level of control. No answers came. Humanity did not explain its systems. It did not boast. It did not threaten further action. Silence followed the response, heavier than any declaration of war. Smaller species began to withdraw their support from the Council's decision. They feared becoming collateral if conflict expanded. Humanity's restraint had earned trust. The galaxy's aggression had lost it. The Supreme Arbiter issued a final warning. Continued resistance, he said, would force the galaxy to abandon caution. Humanity replied with a single sentence. We will defend Earth. Nothing more was added. Nothing needed to be. Above Earth, the captured ships remained motionless, held by systems no scanner could fully understand. Crews were safe. Supplies were stable. Humanity had no interest in prisoners. It had interest in boundaries. The galaxy began to understand the mistake it had made. It had assumed power meant destruction. Humanity had redefined it as control. And now that control was visible, clear, and impossible to ignore. When humanity stopped holding back, it did not unleash chaos. It revealed structure. The galaxy realized too late that it was not facing an emotional species driven by fear. It was facing one guided by rules it was willing to enforce. The galaxy did not speak for a long time after the strike group was stopped. Fleets held their positions in silence, no longer advancing, no longer testing boundaries. What had happened was not just a tactical failure. It was a lesson. Humanity had responded with force, but not rage. With power, but not cruelty. That combination changed everything. Reports flowed into the Galactic Council from every sector. Commanders described the same thing. Systems overridden without damage. Crews untouched. Control taken and returned at will. No known technology matched the behavior. The Council could not classify humanity as weak or reckless anymore. It had to consider something far more difficult. Humanity was disciplined. Fear spread quietly through the fleets. Not panic, but awareness. The kind that makes every decision feel heavy. Officers realized that escalation might not bring victory. It might bring exposure. Humanity had shown only what was necessary. No one knew what the limits were. That uncertainty weighed more than any visible weapon. In the council chamber, debate shifted in tone. The loudest voices grew cautious. Accusations softened into questions. Some members demanded a ceasefire. Others argued for negotiation. The supreme arbiter listened without interruption. Authority still mattered, but now it had to adapt. A direct confrontation no longer guaranteed control. Across the galaxy, independent species watched closely. Many had lived under council law for generations, never questioning it. Humanity's stand did not inspire rebellion. It inspired thought. The idea that rules could be defined by restraint, not domination, was new. And it was unsettling in the best possible way. Humanity remained silent during this period. No further messages were sent. No demands were made. Earth did not move its fleets. It did not reinforce captured positions. It simply maintained balance. This silence spoke louder than threats. It suggested confidence. Behind the scenes, human systems monitored everything. Every signal. Every shift in fleet posture. Humanity was not relaxing. It was observing. Respect did not mean safety. It meant possibility. The galaxy could still choose force. Humanity would be ready if it did. A breakthrough came when one of the oldest council species requested private communication with Earth. This species had survived multiple galactic restructurings. It understood power cycles. It asked one question: what does humanity want? The human reply was simple: to remain on Earth. To be left in peace. To engage with the galaxy by choice, not command. No expansion. No control. No empire. Just sovereignty. This answer surprised many. The Council had expected ambition, conquest, demands. Humanity asked for none of it. It did not seek to replace galactic authority. It sought to exist beside it. The ancient species shared this response with the Council. Discussion followed, quieter and more serious. Humanity's position was no longer seen as defiance. It was seen as clarity. The galaxy had forced a decision. Humanity had responded with identity. Within the fleets, orders changed. Aggressive patrols were reduced. Weapon systems remained offline. Ships repositioned to defensive stances. No official retreat was declared, but the pressure around Earth eased. This shift did not go unnoticed. On Earth, people felt the change even without announcements. The shared tension softened. Life continued. Humanity had not won a war. It had passed a test. The Supreme Arbiter finally addressed the Council with honesty. The attempt to exile humanity had failed. Not because of lack of power, but because the cost had become unclear. For the first time in centuries, The Council faced a species it could not easily control. Fear had not disappeared. It had transformed. It was no longer fear of human aggression. It was fear of human example. A species that could choose restraint and still defend itself challenged the foundation of galactic order. Respect began to grow where fear had been. Not admiration, but acknowledgement. Humanity was no longer a subject under review. It was a force that had defined itself. As the Council prepared new proposals, one truth became clear. The galaxy could no longer decide Earth's fate alone. Humanity had earned a voice. And in the quiet space around Earth, that voice waited, patient, steady, and unbroken. The galaxy could no longer treat Earth as it once had. Fleets that had circled the planet now moved with caution, maintaining distance and observing, rather than enforcing. The Council convened repeatedly, debating what had changed. Humanity had not attacked. Humanity had not expanded. Humanity had only defended its home and defined its rules. And in doing so, it had shifted the balance of authority in space. Messages flowed from Earth to the galaxy sparingly, carefully, and deliberately. Humanity did not seek power beyond its planet. It made no demands. It acknowledged past mistakes of other species, explained its rules, and offered cooperation where it did not threaten sovereignty. For the first time, the galaxy saw that a species could be strong without being aggressive, and disciplined without being subservient. Within the Council, opinions shifted rapidly. Some species argued that humanity should now be recognized as a sovereign power. Others resisted, clinging to old assumptions about authority and obedience. The supreme arbiter listened but could not ignore the facts. Force had failed to exile humans. Diplomacy would require recognition of what humanity had achieved. Earth itself remained unchanged in appearance. Cities lit up at night. Oceans reflected the sun. Forests swayed in the wind. Nothing visible suggested the quiet revolution that had occurred below the surface. Systems that had defended the planet now waited in readiness, unused but prepared. Humanity had not flaunted its strength. It had only secured it. Across the galaxy, smaller species began to speak quietly among themselves. They had observed humanity's restraint and effectiveness. If a species could act with such precision and morality, what could it accomplish if provoked? Alliances shifted. Some former supporters of Council enforcement now sent unofficial communications to Earth, seeking guidance, insight, or protection. Humanity did not intervene. It only responded where necessary, reinforcing its rules without altering its principles. Within the fleets that had once threatened Earth, officers and crews struggled to adapt. Standard procedures were questioned. Command hierarchies were examined. Orders had been given under the assumption of compliance, not equality. Humanity had changed the equation. Now every action had to consider that the planet below was not merely passive. It was active, aware, and capable. The Council finally proposed a new resolution. Earth would remain humanity's home. Its sovereignty would be respected. Fleets could monitor from a distance, but no unilateral action would be permitted. The decision was recorded in galactic archives as unprecedented. Humanity's stand had rewritten the rules of engagement, establishing a precedent for other species as well. On Earth, the population felt the change subtly. No public announcement was needed. People continued daily life, unaware of the full extent of Council deliberations. Yet there was a sense of calm authority, a quiet confidence that humanity had survived the greatest threat it had faced from beyond its world. The planet was home, officially recognized as such by every observing species. Humanity also used this opportunity to clarify its intentions. The new status was not a declaration of power or dominion. It was a statement of responsibility. Earth would defend itself, yes, but it would not seek conquest. It would respect neighboring worlds, adhere to agreed rules where possible, and offer assistance when requested, as long as such aid did not compromise sovereignty. The galaxy, for its part, adjusted cautiously. Fleets reduced patrols. Observers recorded data without interference. The Council recognized that humanity had earned respect through restraint, intelligence, and strategic patience. Authority remained, but it was now tempered by the knowledge that humans would not submit without conditions. Humanity's new status also affected interstellar trade and diplomacy. Species that had avoided contact now sought cooperation. Offers of alliance arrived, but humanity accepted selectively. The priority was Earth's security and the enforcement of its own rules. It had learned that cooperation must be built on mutual understanding, not coercion. The shift in perception extended beyond the Council. Across nearby systems, young species studied humanity as an example. Here was a civilization that had faced near exile and emerged not by force alone but by discipline, preparation, and principle. Humanity had proven that strength was more than weapons or fleets. It was control, patience, and moral clarity. On Earth, life resumed normally, yet nothing would ever be the same. Humanity now existed with the recognition that it was capable of standing alone and being acknowledged as such. The quiet preparation, the careful defense, the controlled response, all had earned a place in galactic history. The Supreme Arbiter and Council members finally acknowledged one uncomfortable truth. Humanity could not be moved, coerced, or ignored. Its systems were ready. Its rules were clear. Its people were unified. Any misstep by the galaxy could provoke consequences beyond expectation. Thus, Earth gained a new status. It was no longer a planet under the Council's control. It was humanity's home, protected by its own authority and recognized across the stars. Sovereignty was not only declared but enforced with principle and precision. The galaxy had learned that negotiation was necessary when facing a species that could hold power without using it unnecessarily. Humanity's new position was not arrogance. It was maturity. The species had survived judgment, faced exile, and emerged stronger, not by destroying others, but by mastering itself. Across the universe, observers now recorded the lesson. Strength without recklessness commanded respect, and respect was more powerful than fear. With Earth's status secured, the stage was set for what humanity would do next. The planet remained home, unthreatened yet ready. The galaxy had been reminded that humanity was no ordinary species. It was disciplined, patient, and principled. It had claimed its place not through conquest but through unshakable control. The future now depended on how the Council, and every other species, would interact with a civilization that had proven it could define its own fate. The galaxy had learned to tread carefully around Earth. Fleets no longer loomed with arrogance, and Council decisions were tempered by the understanding that humanity had not only defended its home but defined its own terms. Across countless star systems, the story of Earth spread quietly, carried by scouts, messengers, and whispering diplomats. Humanity had not sought fame, conquest, or revenge. It had only sought a simple truth: to live according to its own rules. On Earth, life continued, almost unchanged in appearance. Cities bustled, oceans reflected sunlight, and forests stretched across continents. Yet beneath this familiar exterior, humanity had transformed. Systems remained in readiness, networks controlled and coordinated, and every protocol tested for resilience. People moved with the confidence of those who had survived judgment and proved their worth. This was not pride in the ordinary sense. It was certainty born of preparation and principle. The Galactic Council struggled to adjust. For centuries, its authority had gone unchallenged. Decisions were made and enforced, often without question. Humanity had altered that dynamic. The Council had attempted exile and received measured defense. It had attempted to provoke and received precision, restraint, and control. The galaxy was beginning to understand that raw power was not the measure of a civilization. Discipline and self-governance could surpass fleets and weapons in effectiveness. Humanity, meanwhile, did not flaunt its success. No displays of dominance were issued. No fleets were paraded. No threats were broadcast. The message humanity projected was quiet but unmistakable: Earth was under human rules. Interference would be met with proportionate response. Sovereignty was not negotiable, but humanity's principles remained intact. The combination was disarming. Throughout the galaxy, smaller species observed and learned. They saw a civilization that did not conquer indiscriminately, yet could enforce its will precisely. They saw strength guided by ethics rather than aggression. In private conversations, Council members acknowledged that humans had set a standard few other species could match. Humanity's actions had redefined respect and power in interstellar terms. The first move in diplomacy came from the Council itself. The Supreme Arbiter requested a formal dialogue with Earth's leadership. Unlike past summits, this one was approached with caution and deference. Humanity responded with clarity. The agenda was simple: recognition of sovereignty, respect for human-defined boundaries, and agreements on interstellar cooperation where mutual interests aligned. There was no boast, no arrogance. Just understanding. Trade negotiations, once heavily restricted by the Council's control, opened cautiously. Humanity accepted selective engagement, ensuring that alliances and agreements did not compromise principles or security. Other species were impressed by the clarity of Earth's conditions. Agreements became not just contracts but extensions of humanity's rules. Every action reinforced the idea that a civilization could act ethically and effectively simultaneously. Meanwhile, Earth's internal systems continued to evolve quietly. Networks became smarter, defenses more precise, and surveillance more comprehensive, not for aggression, but to ensure preparedness. Humanity had learned that the greatest power lay in readiness, not display. Every citizen contributed in some way, not because of fear, but because of understanding. Survival, in this context, was shared responsibility. The Council's fleets adjusted accordingly. Patrols became observation missions. Weapons tests were recalibrated to avoid unnecessary provocation. Commanders who once viewed humans as unpredictable now studied them closely. Every maneuver was scrutinized, not for weakness, but to understand limits. Humanity had set the pace, and the galaxy had to follow. Across the stars, whispers of Earth's stance grew into stories. Species that had long been silent or neutral began to reassess alliances. Humanity's demonstration was clear: a species that governs itself with principle can resist domination without aggression. This revelation caused subtle shifts in politics, trade, and diplomacy across multiple sectors. A new era of interaction, grounded in respect rather than fear, had begun. On Earth, leadership did not take satisfaction in these changes. No one celebrated conquest. There was no cheering for power gained. The victories were quiet and unpublicized. Humanity measured success not by domination, but by integrity. Every decision reinforced the rules they had set: protect the home, respect life, respond with proportionate strength, and remain unified. These were the principles that had carried them through exile, aggression, and doubt. The galaxy, for its part, learned humility. Species that once considered humanity insignificant now approached with caution, respect, or genuine inquiry. The Council revised policies, acknowledging that Earth's sovereignty was absolute under human terms. Fleets no longer assumed automatic compliance. Observation replaced enforcement. Communication replaced threats. Humanity had created a paradigm shift without aggression. In the quiet of the night on Earth, people went about ordinary lives, unaware of the monumental shift in interstellar perception. Yet the systems, the networks, the silent coordination of millions reflected an extraordinary truth. Humanity had survived judgment, faced the galaxy's might, and emerged not as a subject but as a self-defined force. This was strength guided by choice, patience, and principle. The Supreme Arbiter, reflecting on centuries of governance, admitted a lesson learned too late for comfort. Authority over others required understanding, not just power. The strongest species might not be the loudest, the most numerous, or the most aggressive. Sometimes it was the one with the clearest rules and the patience to enforce them. Humanity had shown this truth to the galaxy. And so Earth remained humanity's home, its rules sovereign, its people ready but restrained. The galaxy respected it not out of fear alone, but out of recognition for a species that had defined itself and demanded acknowledgement. Humanity had done more than survive exile. It had set a standard that would echo across the stars for generations. In the end, humanity did not claim the galaxy. It did not conquer worlds or destroy fleets. It simply claimed its right to exist according to its own rules. And in doing so, it became a force no council, fleet, or species could ignore. Strength, the galaxy realized, was not measured in destruction, but in mastery over self, clarity of principle, and unwavering determination. Humanity had survived, endured, and won, not by breaking the rules of others, but by setting its own.